Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Guys, I'm here to give you my take on the DeSantis versus Newsom debate, what it means going forward as well. I do have to ask this right off the bat. Where has this DeSantis been? If this DeSantis would have shown up, I don't know, the first debate, I'm not sure that there would be questions about who's in second and who's in third. And I think he probably would have been the alternative to Trump. So is this too late for DeSantis? We'll talk about that. The GOP primary remains Trump's to lose, in my opinion. Why did they decide to do this debate in the first place? We're going to talk about that. Will it matter for the primary at all? I've mentioned that. Newsom, good Lord. With Newsom, after I saw him, I expected so much more. Now I'm like, I guess the Democrats don't have a bench. This guy was simply unimpressive. We're going to be talking about that and more on this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Before we get started, guys, I want to remind you to please help out my sponsor, MyPillow.com. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio podcast square at the top of the page and enter my name, Carl. There are all types of deals that are available to you for this Christmas season. If you enter my name, there's Giza Dream Sheets, there's the MyPillow 2.0. There's deals that are 50% off, some as high as 60% or over 60% off. So mypillow.com, promo code Carl, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. You'll also have the satisfaction of knowing that your money that you've worked really hard for, if you're going to spend it anyway for Christmas, you can support a company that hires American, that builds American, you know what I mean? American jobs, American manufacturing. MyPillow.com. Promo code Carl. Click on the radio podcast square, put in my name, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. Plus, you get to help out a sponsor and a patriot in Mike Lindell. So certainly appreciate that. So MyPillow.com. Okay, guys. So let's get right to this debate. And I had right at the top, just some, I'll give you my take, and then we'll watch some of these videos together. These were some of the videos that were highlights. And frankly, I'm biased. All right. You guys know that I'm biased. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. All right. You already know that. You know that I'm a conservative. You know that, listen, I like Trump. I like DeSantis. I'm not mad at at either one of them. I'm not mad at DeSantis for running against Trump. I frankly was one of the very few ones, or probably am one of the very few ones, even to this point, that would love to see a DeSantis-Trump debate, simply because I believe, as the Bible says, that iron sharpens iron. I believe they are our two best candidates. So all that it would do is make Trump stronger and make DeSantis stronger. That isn't going to take place because if you look at the polls, Trump is too far ahead in the polls, so he has no reason to debate, despite the fact that, I'll be frank with you, I don't believe the polls. I don't believe that Trump is ahead by 40 or 30%. Those are national polls. I just think that Trump supporters, the most ardent supporters, are the ones that are the most loud and boisterous in making sure that they fill out the polls. I think it's as simple as that. Now, that isn't to say I do believe that Trump is ahead, and there's no doubt that he is the clear front runner, and there's no doubt that people want justice for the persecution of Trump, plus he's been there and done that. But when I look at this DeSantis, the DeSantis that you're about to see, I can't help but to ask, where the hell has this guy been? This is the DeSantis that in this debate, this DeSantis that you will see with these highlights and that you will hear with these highlights are the DeSantis that we've grown to know and love in the state of Florida, and he's kind of been absent. I got to tell you, his handlers, I don't know who the hell his handlers are. I really don't. They stink. They stink. This was like DeSantis Unleashed. And why? And I understand he's in a primary against other Republicans, so perhaps, you don't want to go as hard against fellow Republicans if you're trying to be the alternative to Trump. You don't want to be as aggressive as Trump, but I don't think that's what people are looking for. I think they want somebody that's just as aggressive as Trump, but knows when to reel it back. I think that's all that was. And so I think DeSantis and his team misread the room. so to speak. Now, frankly, he's just finished 99, going through 99 counties in Iowa. So I do believe that I believe that DeSantis needs to win Iowa, or if he doesn't win Iowa, I think he needs to be like so close in second, it's a nail biter. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I don't see a reason for his campaign to continue unless other people drop out the race at that point. Which if they lose big, which I'm presuming won't necessarily happen. I don't foresee a Nikki Haley getting out the race anytime soon. I'm not sure why Chris Christie is hanging on. The same with Vivek Ramaswamy, but at least at this point, it doesn't seem like they're getting out the race. Maybe they're waiting until after Iowa, which is what I suspect DeSantis would do. But again, where has this DeSantis been? I mean, I just think the guy has been getting some bad advice by his campaign. And I would say this too, when it comes to, listen, I got to be, I think you know this if you've listened to me closely. I feel more sympathetic for the J6 prisoners than I do for anybody. And that includes Trump, because when I look at the J6 prisoners, I think of me. I'm just being completely selfish, but I'm being completely open and honest with you. I think of me. I think of me being stuck in a jail cell without a big name like Donald Trump, without the resources to be able to fight. And don't get me wrong, I'm not minimizing what's happening to Trump. But these people don't have the resources to fight like a Donald Trump does. They don't have the name to fight like a Donald Trump does. And they're thrown away. They're locked up in jail. And the key is thrown away. Now, that isn't to say that some people don't deserve to be in jail or arrested and have some type of record. But I'm sorry, I do believe that a lot of the J6 protesters are political prisoners. I sincerely believe that, especially the Enrique Tarrio to the world. He wasn't even there. A lot of these people should have gotten, trespassing or a misdemeanor. And as a matter of fact, they were going to until I can't recall exactly what happened. But basically, Biden was getting sick of Merrick Garland at the time. Like, hey, step up. Biden was getting sick of Merrick Garland at the time and basically like, hey, step up the persecutions. And all of a sudden, this guy did. And he started going after people that were there during J6, as domestic terrorists and so on, etc. It's just absolutely crazy to me. But that's where we are. So anyway, so the primary is definitely Trump's to lose at this point. The question has been asked by many, including Gabe, why did they do this? You guys may not know this. One night I was watching Hannity's show and Gavin Newsom was on there, and this was a long time ago, guys. This was close to the beginning of the year, or maybe 6+ months ago, if not more. I think it was even more. I think it was closer to the beginning of the year. But Gavin Newsom was on Sean Hannity's program. He was, if I recall correctly, he was kind of just, answering Sean's questions, but going after, DeSantis a little bit. And at that time, DeSantis was obviously polling higher. I don't think he had announced that he was running as of yet. And so, Gavin Newsom was throwing, pot shots at him, and DeSantis wasn't there to defend himself. And then Sean Hannity was just like, hey, would you debate him? And, so on, et cetera. And then Gavin Newsom was like, yeah, I would, blah, 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 playing the role. Later on, down the line, Trump mentioned that to DeSantis, would you debate him? I think DeSantis said, yeah. And then later there was some between the camps. Yeah, maybe we will, maybe we won't. So that's why they debated. This was something that was talked about for a long time before it actually happened. And I do believe that when it was arranged, the thought for both of them were, hey, listen, DeSantis, you're polling so high. This could hurt you or help you. I think he may have decided to do this, go ahead with it, when his poll numbers started dropping a little bit. With Newsom has been running a shadow campaign. We don't know if Joe Biden is going to be alive next year. We don't know if his brain faculties, if the guy's going to be able to speak at all. His poll numbers are absolutely disastrous. And again, I'm not one that buys into the polls as much as others do. But when it comes to polling with Democrats, I think they tend to be accurate, more accurate, because I think Democrats really want an answer. I think they are absolutely panicked at this point in time, but it's too late to change the candidate before the primary races begin. They can change the candidate at their DNC convention, though. They can shift the delegates over. Now it'll cause a headache for them. But if Joe Biden's numbers continue to drop, I still see that as a possibility of being able to happen. And who would their person be? Likely Gavin Newsom, because they don't have anybody. So Kamala Harris, I watched Kamala Harris today on climate change. This chick is a disaster. I mean, they're just looking. The Democrat Party are looking right past her. If they have to use her, I think they will. But I think they would prefer a Newsom. But I got to tell you, based on the performance with Gavin Newsom, I was so unimpressed. It was DeSantis with substance, even using, as you'll see, poop maps and everything else to make his point. So he's starting to do what Republicans are really bad at. Republicans are bad at messaging. They're bad at emoting. You know what I mean? They're bad at making the case for our policies. DeSantis did a much better job, not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but by far, this is by far, it's not even close, the best performance that I've ever seen with Ron DeSantis. Guys, I can't share this enough. As a governor, he is the bomb. That's why I know he would be an amazing president. That's why I'm like, listen, if it's Trump, if it's DeSantis, I know he would be an amazing president. Because when he ran for governor of the state of Florida first time around, I was like, this guy is whack. I didn't know that he was co-founder of the Freedom Caucus at the time. I was like, he's just whack, man. I mean, the guy didn't know how to campaign. All he was doing was going on Fox and just doing these quick hits. Wasn't, from what I saw, not really doing work on the ground here. When I saw him in debates, I was like, oh my God, the gay black dude, or he was the guy that was, I forget his name now. But anyway, black dude that was running against him the first time, that's now been brought up on some type of charges, some type of corruption charges. Andrew Gillum is who he ran against. But I mean, Andrew Gillum, he stunk too, but he was better than DeSantis. It seemed like, at least at campaigning and with all the rhetoric and all that kind of stuff. But DeSantis just stunk. But when he started governing, I can't remember what he did like the first couple of weeks in office, and we were like, what? Whoa. And then he did something else, I mean, pretty quickly, and we were like, this guy's the real deal. He stinks at campaigning, but when it comes to governing, that fool don't play. And so anyway, but I got to tell you, again, going back to Gavin Newsom just real quickly, and then we'll just start rolling these tapes, these videos, and I'll just respond to them real quickly. I just wanted to give you a sense of the highlights, and I think it was a beatdown. I wasn't sure that night, to be honest. I just had to think through this a little bit, but Gavin Newsom came across as so slick and so sleazy. He didn't answer questions. He avoided the questions. He talked over Sean. He talked over DeSantis. Eventually, DeSantis got to a point where he did some of the same, but DeSantis was coming with the receipts. He kept going at him, and it seems like DeSantis wore him down. Like, it seems like initially, Gavin Newsom came in with a game plan. He wasn't going to talk about his record. He was going to deflect and take the attention back to DeSantis and just completely emote, because that works for Democrats. I don't think it works as much anymore. Not when it's all that you do. I do believe there has to be a balance, and I didn't see a balance with Newsom. I did see more of a balance with DeSantis, which I have to admit shocked me. But when I look at Newsom's performance, I'm like, well, damn, no wonder they kept Joe Biden in the White House for as long as they did, because this guy stinks too. I really expected him to, I wouldn't say mop the floor with DeSantis, but I don't know. I just expected so much more. So let's just do this. Without any further ado, we'll start these videos here. But I got to tell you, he was just unimpressive. And frankly, in part, that's why I didn't get a lot of video of him. You can go to his website. You can go to, he called DeSantis out. Everything that DeSantis, you'll see DeSantis talking about. Gavin Newsom basically said, it's your fault. It's your fault. You're evil. You're banning books. You're doing this. It's the same Democrat rhetoric with no answers. It was just like, oh my God. Oh, you called out Los Angeles. DeSantis called out the homelessness and, all this kind of stuff in Los Angeles and the things that are going on. Don't talk about the city of Los Angeles like high and mighty. what's his name, Newsom guy. He mentioned Kamala Harris. That basically Gavin Newsom is in lockstep with Biden and Harris. And he said Kamala or something like that. DeSantis said, and then Newsom's like, "Oh, how dare you mispronounce his name?" Now, if you guys recall, Kamala Harris mispronounced her name. She said Kamala one time. She said Kamala another time. That chick is so dumb. I hate to say it, but it's true. So anyway, that was Gavin Newsom the entire night. The sad thing is, does this make a difference to voters? I think to some voters for DeSantis it will. Not enough to be a knockout blow for Trump or anything like that. But if he has a successful run in Iowa, then I think this in part may play a part in that. For Newsom, as bad as he performed, I don't know that it matters as much to the left as it does to us, because the left is all emotion now. Everything is immoral just because if Republicans believe in something, Democrats don't. So I don't know how this will resonate with a lot of Democrats, but I have seen on Twitter some admitting, or X now, basically that, Gavin Newsom didn't do as good as we thought, and DeSantis, and I'm paraphrasing, right, but DeSantis did better than I thought. Even Harold Ford Jr. on Fox, on the aftermath of this, he was like, I gotta admit, I didn't expect DeSantis to perform that well, and he did much better than I thought. Anyway, without further ado, I'm talking a little too much. Let's go ahead and roll these videos because DeSantis brought the receipts. And again, for me, this particular issue, this was a red state versus blue state issue. I think this was a communism versus constitutionalism debate. And I think this is why this debate was important. For those that say, well, the primaries or the president. No, frankly, I think we need more debates like this. I think people need to hear about the differences. I wish they'd get a better candidate than Gavin Newsom that could actually explain his point of views instead of interrupting and just being slick. But I think these are very important, and I think we need more of them. I wouldn't mind governors sparring off in the future. I really wouldn't. And I got to tell you something else. Not having a crowd was refreshing. I can't stand the seals and hyenas. I know that I'm different. I get it. There should be political theater when it comes to politics. I don't care about the crowds. I want to know what you're going to do for me. And here's why the crowds bother me, is because I think people tend to win or believe that people want a debate based upon whether or not a crowd or how the crowd reacted. No, man. I want to know what you're promising me as an American. All right, let's roll the tape. I don't even remember what the first one is. I think it is Gavin Newsom on DeSantis on Gavin Newsom's father-in-law. And they hit a plethora of issues. I mean, they hit Israel Hamas, they hit abortion. It was a substantive debate, which is why I'm surprised Newsom didn't perform better. It almost felt like he dipped himself in oil before he came to the debate, because he was just slick. All right, let's go ahead and roll it, Gabe.
So I was talking to a fella who had made the move from California to Florida, and he was telling me that Florida is much better governed, safer, better budget, lower taxes, all this stuff. And he was really happy with the quality of life. And then he paused and he said, by the way, I'm Gavin Newsom's father-in-law. So we do count Gavin's in-laws as some of the people that have fled California and come to the state of Florida. And
that's how you do it. that's and by the way, it was your daddy, fool. It was your wife's daddy. All right. So that's how you do it. See, Republicans, I mean, typically they suck at messaging. You'll notice that in debates in the past, you'll see this in the future. One thing that Democrats are really good at is they tie a policy to a story. Republicans don't do that, or they don't do that well. DeSantis finally did it. He finally did it. Now, did he pull it off as great as Democrats, as smooth, right? Is he a natural like Donald Trump? Nope. Nope, not going to sit here and lie. But this guy has grown leaps and bounds, because I'm telling you, he sucked. Capital SUCKED when it came to debates. He's gotten so much better. It's amazing to see. Listen, I'm not even sure we'll have the same type of America in 2028, but perhaps he does stand a chance. I don't necessarily know that to be true. I mean, there's the Ted Cruz's out there, Josh Hawley. Who knows who's going to run for president in 2028 if we're not already taken over by a dictator. So I do kind of think it's now or perhaps never for DeSantis. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Here's the second clip. This guy's bringing receipts. This is very, very important stuff. This is the difference between Florida and California. Let's go ahead and roll this. Poop maps DeSantis brings us.
San Francisco. There's a lot of plots on that. You may be asking, what is that plotting? Well, this is an app where they plot the human feces that are found on the streets of San Francisco. And you see how almost the whole thing is covered, because that is what has happened in one of the previous greatest cities this country's ever had. Human feces is now a fact of life, except when a communist dictator comes to town. Then they cleaned up the streets. They lined the streets with Chinese flags. They didn't put American flags there. They cleaned everything up. So they're willing to do it for a communist dictator, but they're not willing to do it for their own people.
I want to get in with the limited time we have left. I want to get, there are two very...
Nonsense, Gavin Newsom says, but it's true. And he even admitted it. We should have got that video. Like when he was criticized for cleaning up San Francisco when a communist dictator came, and he straight up said, well, it's true, because it's true. I mean, it was so stupid, but it was Gavin Newsom. I remember Adam Carolla, the podcaster, saying he's one of the top podcasters out there as well. But I remember him saying, I'm telling you, I interviewed this guy one-on-one in my studio, whatever. And he was like, this is one of the dumbest politicians out there. Oh my God, you are seeing that. What he is good at, and what Democrats will say is, listen, he goes back to emotion. Democrats are automatically going to get, I don't know, 45, 46, 47% of the vote. The vote is for the independents on, et cetera, or the people that they can rile up, right? You get more young women. Hey, abortion. Hey, ballot harvesting. Let's go to your college campuses. You know what I'm saying? You get the votes where you need them. Democrats are good at that. So a lot of this stuff won't matter to Democrats. But I'm telling you, this guy is dumb. And he's just slick. He came off as a used car salesman. And I got to tell you, I've seen that. I've known that. I just expected him to be better prepared. As a matter of fact, the reports are, because if you watch this debate, Sean Hannity at the end was, or one of them said, I think it was Gavin Newsom, that was like, hey, we can keep going. We could, like, he wanted some more. I'm not even finished yet. And then Sean Hannity was like, hey, listen, I got 20 more minutes or something like that. I mean, I'm going to have to cancel my guest, but if you're down to go. And DeSantis was like, hey, I'm down, bring it on. And then when they got back from the break, Sean Hannity said, listen, there were some prior engagements that they had to stick to. They were unable to stay. Come to find out, it was Gavin Newsom's wife that threw in the white flag and said, enough is enough. I've seen my husband get beat down enough. It's insane. But that's what happened. All right, what do we have? But it is true. It is true. When it comes to the San Francisco street, think about that. He cleaned up San Francisco within days for a communist dictator, but he would not do it for his own residents. He would not do it for the people that he serves. He would not do it for the people that pay his salary and pay the taxes. That's who Gavin Newsom is. And good job, DeSantis, for exposing that there. All right, next clip, por favor, Gabe.
Didn't answer the question.
It didn't address the issue. Can you explain this migration out of California and going to red state, blue state?
Well, hold on. You mean the last 2 years, more Floridians going to California than Californians going to Florida?
No, I put up on the
by the way, that's going to be fun to fact check. So we'll just start right there. California has no peers. California dominates. Size of 21 state populations combined. It's the fifth largest economy in the world. We dominate. Number one manufacturing state.
Okay, so let me just read you some numbers here that I found. All right, the number of people in 2022 that went from California, fled California, moved to Florida, 50,701. The same amount of people that left Florida to move to California, 28,557. So approximately double the amount of people moved to Florida from California in the year of 2022. And 2021, the year before, the amount of people that moved from California to Florida was 37,464. The amount of people that moved from Florida to California, 24,692. Now, I don't know why anybody would move from Florida to California unless it's perhaps job opportunity or something to that effect. This is a next clip. I'm not sure what this is, but anyway, I'll react to it as Gabe plays it.
Point tried to say that California was the freedom state. And I just kind of laugh, like, you're locking people down, you're doing all this. But then I thought about it. You know, California does have freedoms that some people don't, that other states don't. You have the freedom to defecate in public in California. You have the freedom to pitch a tent on Sunset Boulevard. You have the freedom to create a homeless encampment under a freeway and even light it on fire. You have the freedom to have an open-air drug market and use drugs. You have the freedom, if you're an illegal alien, to get all these taxpayer benefits. So those are freedoms. They're not the freedoms our founding fathers envisioned, but they have contributed to the destruction of the quality of life in California, and the results speak for themselves. People are leaving the state because they have failed in addressing the homeless population.
Hey, that's a good twist. And really, that's not freedom. That's bondage. You have the freedom to be on drugs. You call that freedom? Wasting your money, wasting your life, your God-given life, and you're going to waste it by putting drugs in your system? That's freedom? That's not freedom. That's bondage. That's spiritual bondage. That's physical bondage. That's financial bondage. That isn't freedom. Again, you're listening to The Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. If you're on YouTube and Rumble, if you'll rate and review. And again, rate and review, that's going to help us. Basically, that's going to help gain us more exposure. It's as plain as simple as that. I kind of feel weird asking that, but it's true, and that's part of the business. So that would really help us out, and that way we would get more eyes on this podcast. And also follow me on all things social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter at The Carl Jackson Show, or now known as X. We're on Instagram, True Social Getter, wherever I can be found. The Carl Jackson Show is where you can find me, or at The Carl Jackson Show. Okay, so here's the next clip for you. We have another 2 or 3, including this one. So let's go ahead and roll this one. And again, I'm just reacting to the clips.
They're doing. But let me just say something about parents' rights, because he says California respects parents' rights. This is rich. He's been telling a lot of whoppers tonight. This may be the biggest. In California, if you're a parent in Iowa or New Hampshire or South Carolina, your minor child can go to California without your knowledge or without your consent and get hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and a sex change operation, all without you knowing or consenting. How in the heck is that honoring parents' rights when you're bringing people from out of state to go around their parents' backs and getting life-altering surgeries? That is radical. That is
Ron,
extreme.
these kids
that is an assault on parents' rights.
You know what, Ron?
It's not for you to decide. It's for the parents to decide.
You know what?
And the parents do not want their kids going to...
You know what? There's something that I noticed in this debate. You can see the issues that trigger people. You never know what the issues that they're really, really passionate about. You saw fire in DeSantis' eyes when it came to parental rights. So I understand why he fought against Disney. By the way, that was another clip that I didn't get, because DeSantis was being called basically the lockdown king by Gavin Newsom, who had kept Disney closed for like over a year in California. DeSantis kept it closed here, I think, for a month or 2, if that, and then they were back to business. And it was absolutely astounding. And perhaps I should have done a better job of getting some of those together, the accusations from Newsom, because the lies were so big. That's what the left does. That's what communists do. They make the lie so big, you just believe it. Like, You're sitting there thinking nobody would lie this big, right? But they do. And Gavin Newsom did. But you saw DeSantis come alive with parental rights. He did the same thing with porn in the school. He did the same thing defending the Down syndrome children that I saw in the debate. That's a real issue for that man. And honestly, when it comes to parental rights, think about this. The left are big on abortion, right? But for some reason, they want to control your kids. Why? Because they don't have their own kids to control. So if they're going to change society over, if they're going to fundamentally transform America, they have to brainwash your kids. And so this is why I believe, listen, I don't believe it is enough to say we're going to fight the deep state. We're going to dismantle even the deep state I don't think that's enough. All of our institutions are run by the left, are overwhelmingly run by the left. I don't think that you can ignore the culture wars, and be able to solve the issues in the DOJ unless you completely cut it out. Because all you're going to do is get a bunch of recycled woke employees that'll go, or new, woke employees that'll go right back and fill these positions. So that's why I love DeSantis. That's why I love Trump. Because I think they both bring something to the ticket. I'm not convinced with the other candidates. I'm convinced with them based upon results. All right. I think this may be the last clip. Okay, so let's go ahead and roll that.
The role of the schools is to educate kids, not indoctrinate kids. It's not to impose an agenda. It's to do the basics. And what we've said in Florida is it's inappropriate to tell a kindergartner that their gender is a choice. It's inappropriate to tell a second grader that they may have been born in the wrong body. Now, California has that. They want to have that injected into the elementary school. My wife and I have a 7, 5, and a 3-year-old. We don't think that that's appropriate. And I know most parents do not think it's appropriate. It's also important to respect parental rights to know what curriculum is being used in the classroom, and everything should be age appropriate. I actually have something that I brought that some parents have objected to. So this is a book that's in some of the schools in California. Florida, this is not consistent with our standards, called Gender Queer. Some of it's blacked out. You would not probably be able to put this on air. This is pornography. It's cartoons. It's aimed at children, and it's wrong. So this should not be in schools. When people like on the left say that somehow you're banning books by removing this from a young kid's classroom, no, this is not age appropriate. And so we're going to stand for the rights of parents. I think we need to do that nationwide. I don't think you can have a situation where some states just trample on the rights of parents. Parents have a fundamental right to direct the education and upbringing of their kids.
All right. So again, that's DeSantis fighting for parental rights. You have those kids. The Democrat Party didn't have those kids. They didn't even want kids. They want kids dead. A lot of them, anyway. Unless it's the elites. The elites, well, they'll have their children. They'll tell you to kill yours, but they'll have their children because they need somebody to rule the world. I mean, it sounds crazy, but they really believe that. You guys need to watch the Hunger Games because I feel like we're straight up living it right now. It's absolutely insane. But again, DeSantis isn't banning books. These are books that kids should not be seeing. It's not banning books. It's like, no, I'm sorry. This is not going to be a part of the curriculum. If you're going to go ahead and be a pervert, I guess, to kids, you can get these books on your own, but the state isn't going to provide them. We're not providing those in the educational system. That's not banning books. You can go out and get the crap from the authors, which are despicable people, but no, it's not going to be a part of the curriculum, especially towards children. And then when he confronted Newsom on it, and again, another video that I should have had up, when he confronted Newsom on it, Newsom was like, well, no, we don't. You're lying. We don't share these kind of books with children, only age appropriate, like 8th grade, junior high, or middle school and up. No. That's not appropriate for middle school and up, frankly, and for high school. And more than anything, it isn't your business to teach the children that. And I'm sorry, sex is one of those things that's natural. I really don't understand. Like, it's natural. So you can allow parents to talk about it. Maybe if parents are uncomfortable talking about it, there's church folk, other family members that can talk about the birds and the bees with their kids. Now, if your school has a sex ed program and you're a parent and you're okay with that, I mean, I guess that's on you. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, kindergarten, third grade, that's insane. And I really think it's insane for middle school too. I remember growing up at the time, and I don't even know, I was in California. I don't even know or recall if we got any type of notification. Maybe we did, I don't know. But I remember having to put a condom on a banana and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, I mean, well, hindsight 2020, I'm like, I guess in the hood, that's just what they thought of us. We humped like jackrabbits or something. So they wanted to make sure it was just weird. You know what I'm saying? Eighth grade. I remember that. Oh man. But honestly, this is why the church has to do a better job of being involved in the culture wars, because the left will always fill the void. If the church doesn't, the left will always fill the void. They will usher in their own gods, their own morality, and that's exactly what's happening. But kudos to DeSantis. Again, I encourage you to go watch the full debate if you like, or go to Gavin Newsom's X page. There's plenty on there where you can see him going at DeSantis too. But I got to tell you, every reaction was the same. It was totally emotional. It was kind of cut him off. Oh, how dare you? Like righteous indignation. But he wouldn't answer questions on his record for the entire debate. The guy is sleazy, and he's not that great. So now I totally understand why they would rather think about this. The Democrat Party, oh my God, they are so bad. Their bench is so bad that a dementia patient is still better than Kamala Harris as VP and Gavin Newsom after what I saw in that debate. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. Don't forget mypillow.com, promo code Carl. All right, Radio Podcast Square. Just enter my name, 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee. American-made jobs, American manufacturing, plus products that are going to give you a good night's rest, products that you're going to enjoy and have for quite some time, I believe. I think you're going to love any one of the products that they sell on mypillow.com, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. So until next time, don't grow where you're doing good. God bless you.